Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at a really interesting source about learning English. What's different here is how it connects, strong spiritual motivation like trusting God with the practical, sometimes really frustrating side of learning a language. It's kind of a guide for your inner game, for persistence.
Exactly. And that mix is why we wanted to explore this for you. Our goal here is to pull out some core strategies, maybe some motivational fuel from this faith perspective, things you can actually use. How do you handle the emotional side, the exhaustion? How does this source suggest you keep going when it just feels like a grind?
Yeah, the grind is real. The source jumps right in, saying English learning is a journey, definitely not a race.
Right.
But, when you're stuck, that journey can feel more like being on a treadmill, right? You're moving, but the view isn't changing much. It's long. It needs patience, persistence, and for this source, trust.
And what's really key is that the source gets that volatility. It acknowledges the ups and downs. You have these moments where you feel like you're flying, things are clicking, then times you feel completely stuck, like totally overwhelmed. That cycle, it's normal. You just need a way to navigate it.
Okay, so what does it offer for navigating? It points to two specific things you need when you hit those lows.
Yeah.
First is patience. Simple reason.
Yeah.
It just takes a long time. The second is persistence. They call this a very important word. It's about intentionally moving forward, step by step, even when it feels like you're going nowhere.
Right. And this is where the trust element comes in, but as a practical tool, not just, a vague belief. The idea is that trusting God gives you a kind of peace, like having a very wise friend walking alongside you. A friend who knows the way and knows how to help, maybe with a tough grammar point or remembering a word.
Okay, I get the concept of the wise friend, but practically speaking, how does that trust actually help the learner? Like when you're staring at a really complex grammar rule, how does this friend reduce the mental effort involved?
Well, think about it this way. When your mind isn't constantly worrying about the final outcome, will I ever be fluent? What if I fail? It frees up mental space. Psychologically, you're reducing that cognitive load. Instead of stressing if this specific lesson is make or break, you just focus on understanding the material in front of you. You trust the bigger picture is handled. So, faith here acts almost like an ultimate confidence booster, letting you stop overthinking every little verb or preposition.
That's a powerful way to put it. Externalizing the worry lets you internalize the focus.
Okay. But let's shift to maybe the biggest motivation killer.
Yeah.
Just feeling discouraged. Every learner hits that point, right? Thinking, this is just too hard. I can't do this. I should stop. How does the source address that?
It frames the solution as tapping into a kind of inner strength. This trust is described as providing that power, almost like a quiet voice inside you saying, keep going. They literally call it fuel for our spirit, which, even outside of faith context resonates. It's about finding that self-belief, that conviction you can do it. Right, but what if someone isn't drawing on faith? How can a purely secular learner find that same fuel when they feel completely empty?
That's a great question. I think the parallel is shifting from needing outside approval to connecting with your own internal commitment.
Yeah.
When the source talks about trust providing fuel, it means linking the effort back to a deeper why. Why are you learning English? Is it for connection, opportunity, personal growth? So for the secular learner, that fuel comes from having a really strong personal reason that makes the temporary difficulty worth it. It's about knowing the struggle is temporary, but the skill, the connection, that's lasting.
Okay, that makes the whole process feel less heavy. Now, the other big hurdle, the fear of making mistakes. This is huge. It makes people shy. They clam up. They just stop trying to speak.
And that gets into perfectionism, which is absolutely fatal for language learning. The source uses a lovely analogy here. A baby learned to walk. The baby falls down, constantly. But it doesn't look around embarrassed and give up on walking, right? It just gets back up.
It's a classic analogy, yeah. But let's push on that a bit. How long can someone stay in that baby falling stage before it just gets demoralizing? I mean, even if you reframe falling as learning, constant failure is still exhausting.
But see, that's the crucial part the source highlights. The focus isn't on not falling, it's on the getting up. The key takeaway is that God isn't asking for perfection. He's asking for our heart and our effort. That's it. So when you make a mistake, the advice is simple. Smile, learn, move on. It takes away the shame. It frames it like God is actually cheering you on, which translates, I think, to a really deep kind of self-compassion. It's okay to be imperfect as long as you're trying.
Okay, so if we accept mistakes are part of it, that leads right into impatience.
Yeah.
We want to skip the falling down part altogether. We live in this instant world. Everyone wants that magic button for fluency tomorrow. But the reality is, progress often feels, very, very slow, as the source puts it.
And the source directly counters that impatience with the building a big house analogy. You don't just magically have a house. You build it one brick, then another, and another. Big things, like fluency, are built from tiny, consistent actions, those small steps. They aren't insignificant. They're literally the only way the big structure gets built.
So the practical takeaway is
Yeah.
you have to consciously notice and value those small wins. Don't just stare at the giant unfinished project. Look at the brick you just laid today. You need to actually tell yourself, wow, I learned a new phrase today. Good job, me. It reframes consistency, doesn't it? Makes it feel like a series of small successes instead of one long slog.
Exactly. Consistency, doing a little good every day, is presented as the most powerful engine for learning. And linked very closely to that is the instruction to stop comparing yourself to others. They flat out say it's unfair because everyone learns at their own pace.
Right. And what's the spiritual reason behind avoiding comparison?
It comes back to trusting God's perfect timing. The idea is that your learning journey is unique, tailored to you, and part of a bigger plan. So comparing your pace to someone else's is pointless and just creates anxiety. If you trust that the right opportunities, the job, the trip, the connection will show up when you are ready, you can let go of the panic and just focus on laying today's brick. It brings peace.
That brings us to a really important point, the link between just believing and actually doing something. The source is super clear. Trusting God doesn't mean we just sit back and do nothing. You can't just wish for fluency.
No, active participation is essential. They use that great farming analogy. Trusting God for a good harvest doesn't mean you skip planting the seeds or watering the fields. You absolutely have to do your part first. Trust provides the power, maybe, but discipline is what steers it.
Okay, so applied to learning English, what's the discipline part? What are those seeds a learner needs to be planting regularly?
The required actions are pretty straightforward. You still have to study grammar, you have to practice vocabulary, you need to listen actively, read consistently, and crucially, you have to actually speak. That's the human effort part. The source calls the whole thing a beautiful combination. It's your discipline plus God's blessing. The belief is that the blessing kind of multiplies your efforts, helps with understanding, with memory, but only if you put in the initial effort.
It's like a partnership then. That invest the work, and the belief system amplifies the return. And they even suggest practical ways to use prayer as part of this discipline, right? Not just for big goals, but for daily study.
Yeah, they really emphasize that no detail is too small. Even struggling with an idiom or picking a study method, they encourage specific prayers for things like wisdom, maybe, to finally understand a difficult grammar point or find the right word in conversation. Prayers for patience with yourself when it feels incredibly hard, and for courage to speak up, even when you feel shy or nervous. It's very integrated faith supporting the emotional and the mental effort.
Okay, this is where it gets really practical, connecting the day-to-day effort to the bigger picture.
Yeah.
What about when a learner feels genuinely blocked? Like their career path is stalled, or they can't travel like they want to because their English just isn't there yet. It feels like a closed door.
When you hit that wall, the source says, trusting God means believing. He can open new doors, even if the current path looks completely blocked. And these new opportunities might show up in unexpected ways. Suddenly you see a great deal on an online course, or you meet a new native speaker who becomes a friend, or you just discover a totally new way to practice that clicks for you. The message is that God is creative in finding pathways forward.
So learning English isn't just about personal achievement, like getting a certificate or something. It's positioned as more significant than that.
Absolutely. English is framed not just as a skill, but as a tool or a key to unlock opportunities, better work, travel experiences, but also, in this context, ministry, meaning connecting with others and sharing faith across language barriers. It gives the whole learning process a much larger, more meaningful purpose, which can really help you push through those inevitable tough spots.
Right, that really ties it all together. So just to summarize this deep dive, the source offers this really quite detailed framework. It maps strong faith directly onto the psychological hurdles and practical challenges of language learning. It provides, fuel for persistence, a way to handle failure without shame, and a reason to value those small day-to-day wins.
Precisely. I think the core lesson here is about that balance. The balance between your internal commitment, the discipline, the effort, the planting seeds in an external belief system. The trust, the sense of blessing that multiplies the harvest. Getting that balance right seems to take the pressure off immediate results and lets you focus your energy on just showing up, doing the work consistently, and trusting the timing.
Okay, so if those small steps are the real victories, and discipline is how you multiply your efforts over time, here's something for you to think about. What goal in your life, maybe not language related at all, feels slow or stuck right now? Could you reframe it as just laying one small brick consistently? Think about the discipline needed for just that one brick today, trusting that sustained effort will compound. Something to consider. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.